Good morning and welcome to another edition of United Way for Southeastern Michigan's What's the Word Wednesdays. My name is Courtney Howe, and today we're going to be talking about the topic on all parents' mind, back to school. But more specifically, we're going to talk about how organizations like SDM2, Project Education, and Classroom Clapback are focusing on equity in the classroom, supporting students in Detroit and beyond, and celebrating Black excellence. As a reminder, please put your questions for our guest speaker into the chat box on Zoom or into the comment section if you're watching on Facebook. We are joined today by Silver Moore, an educator, Indigenous Detroiter, and the founder and executive director of Classroom Clapback. Through Classroom Clapback, Silver speaks to Clapback as a system of miseducation through the development of relevant and rigorous curricula and by providing culturally relevant professional development for educators. As an abolitionist educator and Golden Apple Award recipient, she believes her work is justice work and that to be an educator, you must also be an activist. Her work is grounded in the belief that hashtag Black Child Genius is alive and well. The Black children are inherently valuable, and the liberation of their minds, bodies, and spirits is a necessity, not an adjunct to their education. Silver has served as an elementary and middle classroom teacher, an instructional coach, and the program director of the Spirit of Detroit award-winning nonprofit SDM2 Project Education. She maintains a commitment to creating educational spaces within and beyond the classroom walls that cultivate tenacious joy, shape stubborn hope, and promote a sense of wonder for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So Silver, thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to talk about the role we all can play to build equity in the classrooms and be education activists. So can you start by telling me more about the history of SDM2 Project Education and how your work led to you founding Classroom Clapback?
Yes, well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you this morning as we are in the back to school season. As you can see, I'm borrowing an office from somewhere else because I'm doing a PD today at another building. So we are full on back to school season. But SDM2 Project Education, more or less, has been something that has been all of my life. And I say that because it started when it was time for me to get ready and to learn to read. I'm in school, I'm trying to learn to read, and I was a struggling reader, right? It did not come naturally for me reading. So what my dad chose to do, his way of investing in me was to invest in my classmates. And so he bought books for every student in my class. Beautiful. And so that action grew to us having what we call Kitty Day events that people thought were my birthday. And I'm like, my birthday's in December, but they're in the summer. People bring me birthday gifts. I'm like, it's not my birthday. It's just an event for kids. And then that grew to larger back to school events under SDM2 Project Education. So we were talking beforehand, we offline about it being SDM2, but the 2 is like a square. The name is actually, me and my sister are the namesakes of that. We are both SDM. I'm Silver, Danielle Moore, she's Shannon Delise Moore, hence the 2 and the square. So under SDM2 Project Education, we began doing these large back to school events where every year we were giving out hundreds of book bags and school supplies. We were giving out computers and printers. We were doing all of these different things tangibly for students, as well as like a very fun event. So it wasn't just cool, like kids had a ball. But one year we had a banner that said, "This is my year." And we invited students and we invited parents as well to sign on that banner, what is this school year their year to do? And so we looked at what students responded. Some said, "This is my year not to get suspended. This is my year to get all A's. This is my year to get better in math." And so we're like, okay, we're doing good by making sure students are able to start the year with everything tangibly that they need. They have something to write with, they got the book bag, they have those things, but then what, right? Like to help students get to achieve what they say this is their year to do, SDM2 has to be more than that. So since then, we've expanded. We've purchased a home that we converted into a community center. So we have after-school tutoring opportunities, where we have dinner for students, computer access for students, tutoring for students. We have every week we have a large food fair. We partner with Food Rescue Detroit, and we do food rescues from Plum Market, Whole Foods, Sam's Club, Starbucks, to be able to give food to our community, because that's important to make sure the educational process as well. So we've done healthy living series. We have a young men's mentorship program. So we've been doing more things in effort to make sure that we are building our communities, supporting our youth, and promoting literacy. So it's a holistic aspect that we're doing to service that. So teaching found me, education found me, because that is the life in which I grew up in. So I became a teacher, as mentioned in the bio. I've taught grades 5th through 8th grade. I've been an instructional coach for both middle and high school teachers. And throughout that time, my love for curriculum developed, and it led me to create Classroom Clapback, because I saw, I'm sorry, I'm in somebody else's office and they've got a timer. Hold on, move around a little bit and get it back on. My apologies. This is not my space. Hold on. Is it back on? There we go. Sorry. The school has a timer on the lights.
No worries.
But yeah, so I'm like, I wanted to use this to create opportunities for students, especially Black students that rarely see themselves reflected in the learning. How do I make sure that I can support students in the classroom by giving them things that is rigorous content, right, but also relevant to them, engaging to them, and also support teachers in being able to promote this kind of instruction with students that deserve it, but are often left out of that process in education. So that's the long summation of SDM2 and Classroom Clapback.
Love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And, I know that you all, between the different organizations, you have so many programs and initiatives that you all do. And I really want to learn more about, again, for students in the education realm. So can you tell us more about the tutoring and mentoring services for the different grade levels that you all serve?
Yep. So we are primarily right now middle and high school students. Pre-pandemic, it was all within our community center. Once the pandemic hit, we went virtual. So people came from a variety of different places and able to log on to Zoom, get put in a Zoom room with them and just their tutor, and to be able to work on that. This summer, we were able to get some funding to employ students for summer jobs, and they decided we want to do something for the little kids. So on Thursdays, all throughout the summer, for kids that are pre-K to 3rd grade, they've been coming to our community center every week, crafts and reading, getting lunch and things like that. So the various different ways in which we are tangibly pouring into education for students across the gamut now.
Awesome. Another thing that we've really been talking about within our series is mental health. And we know that the pandemic and has created, a new world for students, and, coming from like an in-person to virtual to a hybrid. And we know that it's caused, not just, some academic sliding, but also anxiety and social barriers there too. So what are some things, some pointers, or what are some things that SDM2 and Classroom Clapback are doing, with that transition, and how are you all helping students, in that mental health space?
Yes, so on the SDM2 end, we actually, for when everything was virtual, we had students that did their virtual learning at the SDM2 house. So we had a small group of students, and we provided a space for them to come, especially for younger students. The parents are like, where do they go? Right. So we were able to provide that space so that they still were able to have community, but on a smaller scale, as opposed to a classroom that has 30, students in it, a smaller scale. They ate real good for breakfast and lunch. They ate really, really good. And then we also had people that were able to assist them with the assignments there. So students were not falling behind academically. And in some cases, students actually get better when they were with us than when they were in the building, as well as they still had kids that they could talk to. While everybody had their own table, you still could talk. They were able to go to Moore Park, our area outside. They were able to be in the garden. So we're able to still tangibly throughout the pandemic help them in those areas. With our mentorship program, we have a young men's mentorship program, which next month we'll be starting back the new year. Every year we kick off with an overnight camp where we they pitch tents and they stay outside in our area. And so we're with them every month during the mentorship program to be able to, again, provide that connection. And then for Classroom Clapback, I'm all about how do I create spaces for students within the classroom that promote, I say, tenacious joy and stubborn hope, right? Like a hope that's so like you can't shake my hope. That's it. It's going to be able to happen. So I think that is very important. And how do we have students see themselves in the curriculum so they feel hopeful? What does your classroom setup look like? What are the procedures and the protocols? How often are students speaking, right? Like, is your place a classroom that allows for laughter? Right? What does joy look like in your space? And I think that is so important and it is so crucial. Learning is not a silent classroom where everybody's got, that's not what learning looks like. And it's definitely not what joy looks like. So being intentional in the planning that we are doing, that it also promotes joy that is not shaken in our students. And that is what is the crucial component of the work that I did as a classroom teacher, I do as an instructional coach, and certainly do as I do professional development and curriculum development through Classroom Clapback.
I love that. And again, I really appreciate that you all provide resources, not just for the students, but similarly also for other educators. I know that you all are housed in the Southern Island Grand River area. Can you talk about some other resources that you provide for educators and, talk about your curricular work as well?
Yeah, so my curriculum work, it honestly came, again, I just love lesson planning. I know a lot of teachers I had fun lesson planning. And so I hit some health issues and I'm like, all right, you're going to have to make some changes in your career, meaning you're going to have to figure out another way to get a couple of extra dollars. So I'm like, let me take something that I love and enjoy as my gift. And it was like, I'm gonna just sell a couple of lesson plans on the side and help me make sure that I can cover some costs. And it grew from that in a few different ways. So I think the most recent professional development that I did with teachers to Black Girl Magic and Beyond, Pedagogies for Black Girls. And this came out of after Sha'Carri was running not the Olympics, but prior to it, when she first came out the gate. And that was full on Black Girl Magic. And I was looking at, all our Olympians and our gymnasts and all of these Black girls in this space that were caring about their mental health and all of what was going. And out of that came, how do we show up for our students, girls in our classrooms, the same way we showed up for them? How are we cultivating space for our students when they have mess ups, whether they're public mess ups or small mess ups, right? As in the Sha'Carri case, how do we address students that are dealing with trauma? I lost somebody and I'm responding. And what does that look like to shape classrooms that are safe for our students, not just spaces where they learn the standards and they meet the skills? How are we creating spaces that they're whole, right? So that was one of the things that I did. I've done things about how do we have text-based discussions. I think we think about the vocal equity, the vocal capital, who is taking up all the space in the classroom, who's talking. Is it just one student or is it even you, right? What does a power dynamic look like for a classroom where the teacher is the sole person speaking? And how do we make sure students have agency in their classroom, a voice, and in their learning? So different resources like that. And whether it is that I'm working with teachers on building out their lesson plans or what their curriculum is going to look like. Because I think we just have to be very intentional and thinking about truly what does a student-centered classroom look like? Student-centered doesn't just mean I'm doing the things that they like, but holistically, what does a classroom look like that is focused on the joy of students, the mental, emotional health of students? What does it look like to be in a classroom where my hair is even loved and valued in this place, right? All of those different aspects are so important. I think about, I'm a Black girl from Detroit. So that means I grew up around a whole bunch of other Black girls. But as a child, I was drawing hair I was drawing pictures with blue eyes because I thought those were so beautiful. What is it that made me that way in Detroit? Right? And like, how do we make sure I want a classroom that will create a student that looks like me, that thinks my eyes are still beautiful, right? And like, so that is the part, that is what I want to help educators to do. And what I really set out Classroom Clapback is I want to figure out how to do it better myself. I had visions of the teacher I wanted to be first year, and I'm like, oh, it's a little harder than I thought to make the vision that I have up here actually come out in that day-to-day. Yeah.
I love that, and before we talk about food insecurity and your community garden, I want to, how can people who have children in the middle school and high school age, or even educators, how can they connect with you all, and how can they get more involved into your program?
Yeah, so if you're checking out SDM2 Project Education, SDM2 Project Education, you can see that online, sdm2projecteducation.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. The same thing with Classroom Clapback, classroomclapback.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram. And for me personally, I am Silver Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, Silver Danielle. You can find me on both of those to connect further. I love talking about education. I can do this all day long. My nerves are bad when I'm speaking in front of people, really bad, but as soon as I talk, they go away. So my heart was like this like 15 minutes ago, but as soon as we got to talking, I'm good. So yeah, I would love to work with you anyway and support you and support your community, because your community is mine as well. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. And for all who are viewing right now, the links are in the chat box and on the comment section. So please connect with Silver and their team, and they'll love to connect with you, whether you're an educator or you have students that's looking to be mentored. Now, I want to kind of shift towards food insecurity and your community gardens. And so I personally have been able to visit you all's space, the 7 Mile Grand River area, and it is like fabulous. And it was really tugged my heartstrings just to see like how much work and how much investment you all have been doing in that community. And I am just so, it was just a beauty to see. And so I would love for you to talk about more about what you're doing in that space and with your food fairs as well.
Yeah, so we actually, my sister just got into town yesterday. She lives out in Seattle. So she came into town yesterday. Me and her, my mom were going through the garden and taking pictures. Like, I know that like food grows, but just seeing, I'm like, this is just so cool, seeing all the different things that are growing out of the garden. But it was a dream, it was a vision that we had until we're like finally got to the place we were able to have this garden. We're constantly trying to expand beds. We were intentional about making sure that they were raised beds and not on the ground. So if seniors or those with disabilities are able to come, if they are in a wheelchair, if they need to sit, they're able to be there and not have to get down on the ground, so that it's accessible for the community. So we've got about 7 beds right now that we're using, and we're looking to expand more. In terms of our food fair, as I mentioned before, we partnered with Food Rescue Detroit to do some food rescue. A lot of food just gets thrown away every single day. We're not talking about food that is expired, food that is like just food that, all right, is dented, or like, small things like that just get thrown away. So we're doing this part of being environmentalism as well. We're doing those food rescues and providing food for our community, because in the area that we are in, I mean, the number of major grocery stores in Detroit already is very limited, right? And depending on the community, without access to a car, you are even more so cut off of going to those larger grocery stores. And so we do have access to what I call the hood grocery stores, right? That you walk in and your grocery store shouldn't smell the way a lot of our hood grocery stores, right? And so the one that we did have in our neighborhood isn't even open anymore.
Yeah.
So what do you do for our neighborhood, for our seniors? We have a lot of seniors in our area. We have a lot of people that do not have transportation. What do you eat? And now we're under inflation. Everything is up. Your bacon is higher now than your bacon was 2 years ago, right? So what does that look like as well? So every week, people load up, and we pride ourselves on making sure that we are giving quality food to our community. Like, somebody donated something to us before, and we're like, we appreciate it, but we are giving our community food that they can eat to live. not just like, here, it's free, you should, no. Like, so we are giving quality food in our rescue. People are getting things straight out of the garden, using that to make their meals, and we're able to, you know, cover most of what you would need to take care of. So we've acquired a crate with Food Rescue Detroit, a shipping crate that was converted into a food hub. So in this food hub, it's larger freezer, refrigeration space, and storage for that. We also have a food trailer. So we do different events. We feed our community twice a month as well. So during those food fairs, twice a month, there'll be time we're just going to eat. Last week, we had a partner with our chef who came in right there. He had everything going. He demonstrated how to do fried rice. So he showed how do we cook this, and passed out, and they ate. So we're going to be having another food, not just giving away food, but you can eat next week too. So that's important because, one, that's communal, right? There is nothing more communal than say, hey, let's come and eat. So we're building relationships. Our food fair is not food distribution. That feels all sad. Like, why would we do that? No, we play music. People come to hang out because they just like that we're laughing, and that this is so it's communal, but it's also like our health is important, and making sure that our community has access to what we need to live. That our kids are not hungry when they go to school, and we expect them to master all the Common Core standards, and they don't have no food in their stomach, right? So we're making sure that if we're really about education, we're really about our community, then we had to be about food too. That's a necessity. So we're trying to expand that more and more and grow that more. We're doing like physical, like boot camps now. We got personal trainers that are on our team, and all of these different things to this holistic health experience for our community. Black people, we got a whole lot of things in our family tree that we are working to make sure are not in the family trees of anybody in our community.
Absolutely. And again, you talked about, you know, it not just being a hub to grow food, but also to make sure the community is fed and the quality of food is there. But you also talked about, like, again, health. You all have, practitioners, and you all have trainers and things to really educate the community, whether it's the youth, whether it's seniors. And I absolutely love that. So for people who, I want to kind of learn more about maybe the need in your service area. So again, you all are located in the 7 Mile and Grand River areas. What specific needs have you seen for that area? And how has the community been receptive to all of the work that you all have been doing?
Yeah, so our neighborhood, we think of the things that have gone. Mm-hmm. There once was a neighborhood school that's been in bed that I actually attended when I was in elementary school, that has long been closed down, and that's a vacant building there. Again, I mentioned we had the one grocery store that also is gone, so that's vacant there. So all these structures, right, like schools, grocery stores, even like restaurants, we got one now that came, like, so we don't have a lot of those different things in our neighborhood that are crucial to a thriving community. So what does that look like? How do we tap into the education as well as food and health in an area that does not have a local gym? There is no community center. So recently, while we do have what we call Moore Park, because our yard is just, I don't know why it's that big, it's dumb big, but that we use as a space, there is also, within the last couple of years, a park that was able to be put in because we had a lot of abandoned homes and open lots. But yeah, a lot of those things just aren't in the area that we're in. Here we go again. I'm sorry, somebody just came in. I thought like, oh, that's good. She opened the door. We're good. This is not my office. I really apologize that it's like this. I'm borrowing space. Okay. And then the school, I'm like, this is weird. Why do they have it on a timer? It doesn't even look like it's that kind of light. I apologize. This is so not professional. Sorry. But yeah, so we see, I would say in a lot of ways, we would be able to be considered a food desert, right? In that area. So needing, how do we get those things for our communities? And so we're just tapping in the best way that we can in the things that we're doing over at STU, Project Education.
That is fabulous. You know, if someone in that community wanted to receive food from you all, how can they do so? Is there any stipulations? Like, how is that? You know, how does one participate in that manner?
So every Tuesday at 1 o'clock is our food fair. I will let you know that people are in line by 12. But every Tuesday it is open. You are more than welcome to come during that time. And as for the summer, our Eat to Live series, as I mentioned, with the nutritionists and chefs and personal trainers, will start at 1:30. So you are able to come. We prefer that you can come with like a grocery bag, or I saw somebody with a suitcase yesterday. So whatever you can to load up your food. If you don't have anything, we will have things for you. And it's you just shop. So it's not like we have a set box that we'll prepare for you or give to you. We separate everything like it's a grocery store. So this is your dry goods area. This is where the fruits are. This is where the vegetables are. We go into the crate where it's refrigeration. If you want meat, so you just go and you just shop and take the things that you would like to receive. So we do that every week, every Tuesday. Again, that is open, and the garden is there. So there, I think yesterday when I was like, yeah, I woke up at like 7 this morning. I saw somebody was over in the garden. So feel free. We are in the moment. We need to harvest right now. Like things are a little like we got to get stuff harvested. So if you happen to be in the 7 Mile Telegraph area, come by and get you a cucumber or something like that. So those things are available and accessible as needed.
Silver, I really appreciate you joining us today. That's all the time that we have. But Silver, again, thank you so much. If there's any last things that you wanted to share with our viewers, please do so. And at this time, and any closing thoughts that you have?
I think I said a whole lot already, so not too many closing thoughts, but just encouraged to just be in this work. This takes a whole lot of people. It's unequal on education is unequal in a lot of different aspects. So it takes a whole lot of people to be able to figure out how are we going to do this. Like I said, I believe while all children are inherently valuable, I'm thinking specifically to marginalized and marginalized. And so Black children are inherently valuable. And we should be able to shape worlds where they don't ever doubt that. How do we create spaces that they inherently know that they are inherently valuable? And so figure out a way, if you are listening to this, wherever you're listening, I put that charge on you. Think about, it doesn't have to be anything super grand, and you don't have to do all the things I listed that SDM2 private education is doing, and people that got way more money than us are doing. But what little thing can you be doing to make sure that they don't doubt their value, because we live in a world that could cause them to question that.
That is so true. And Silver, again, thank you so much for sharing everything about SDM2 and Classroom Clapback. It's been very informative. And again, for everyone watching, please reach out to Silver. Go to their both websites that are listed in the chat box and in the comments section. And so we have a few more updates to share with the viewers before we close out today's event. So as a reminder, for everyone in our community who may be experiencing a need, our 211 helpline remains available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This includes resources like cooling centers, many of which are open this week. We'll drop a link to find your nearest cooling center. We always maintain a running list of available services in the community and can connect you to the support that you need. You can also look up resources in your area by using our 211 resource database at UnitedWaySDM.org/211. We encourage anyone who cares about education and supporting students to consider looking for volunteer opportunities this fall. United Way's volunteer portal has many in-person, remote, and virtual opportunities, including building support kits for students, backpack drives, mentoring, and tutoring, and more. You can find all of these opportunities by visiting UnitedWaySDM.org/volunteer. We'll also put that link in the chat for you. We will return on September 7th with the Labor Day Town Hall with Shannon Garrett of the Michigan Women's Commission, who will share information about how the FARE, F-A-R-E grant is helping low-income women workers know their rights. You can visit United Way, SCM.org/virtual town halls to stay updated on our upcoming topics and watch replays of previous town halls. That website is also included in the chat box. Again, thank you, everyone. We will see you soon. Stay safe and continue to live united.